and welcome. I see we have some people logging in, so we're just gonna give it a few minutes, a few seconds. Welcome everybody. Hello from New York. Hi, thanks for coming today. All right, so we're gonna get started. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Baker and Taylor's Summer Reading Learn How to Draw panel. My name is Allison Curtin and I'm the Children's and Teens Marketing Manager here at Baker and Taylor. Our department is affectionately known as CATS for Children's and Teens. And it's my pleasure today to welcome you all to our live drawing event. So as part of our yearly prize book program, where we offer librarians discounts for giveaway books, we have hosted a number of live author events throughout the month of June, and today is the penultimate event. We are so grateful and very excited to have three amazing award-winning creators with us, creators of art for young readers, and everybody here is somehow involved in one way or another with summer reading and everything that you're doing out in your communities. So let's get started. Slide. There we go. Okay, so our first panelist is Jason Chin. You can find him online at jasonchin.net. Caldecott medalist Jason Chin is the author and illustrator of many acclaimed books, including Grand Canyon, Redwoods, and Your Place in the Universe. He received the 2022 Caldecott Medal for Watercrest by Andrea Wang, and I was excited to be in the audience to hear your speech that day, Jason. He also has a Caldecott Honor, a Siebert Honor, and an NCTA Orbis Pictus Award for Grand Canyon. While searching his books, he's gone swimming with sharks, yikes. He's explored lava fields and camped with scorpions at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. He does all this for his art. We love him for it. Jason loves making art, learning about science, and getting outside to hike, bike, ski, and explore. He is also an ambassador for the iREAD summer reading program for the summer 2024. Read, renew, and repeat. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We're so excited. We're so excited. Next, we have Tara Audibert. You can find Tara online at one word, moxiefoxy.ca. Tara Audibert is a multidisciplinary artist, filmmaker, cartoonist, animator, and podcaster. She owns and runs Moxie Fox Studio, where she creates her award-winning works, including the animated short film, The Importance of Dreaming, comics, one called The Place, 150 Years Retold of Lost Innocence, and KnitTap, Legends of the First Nations, which is an animated storytelling app. Tara's work combines traditional First Nation art and storytelling with contemporary design and digital mediums. Tara is the editor of the JoJo Makoons series. One of the titles in the series on our summer reading prize list, JoJo Makoons and They Used to Be Best Friend, received both a Library Guild Award and was an honor title for the middle grade American Indian Youth Literature Awards in 2022. Tara is of Wolastoqey French heritage, and she resides in Sunny Corner, New Brunswick, Canada. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's amazing.
Next up, we have Rachel Dinunzio. You can find Rachel online at racheldinunzio.com. Rachel is from Western New York. She's a children's author and illustrator. She is all about kindness, creativity, and empowerment. Rachel's book collection features a variety of titles from her new Forsynthia children's graphic novel series to The Adventures of Olive, the Chameleon Cat, coming soon, and Scarlet Symphony. Rachel's mission is to foster a love of reading, to encourage independent thinking, all children to their highest potential. Rachel's also a passionate professor at the Rochester Institute of Technology, where she feels very lucky to be helping the next generation of creatives find success. And newsflash, breaking news just this week, Forsynthia, The Rise of the Cupcakes has been added to the Children's Book Council Summer 2024 Showcase, this year's theme being Imagination Celebration. And we agree that her protagonist, a working mother who happens to be a dragon, whose job as a top secret government scientist, and fights possessed cupcakes, we think it definitely qualifies for the imaginative. Her second Forsynthia graphic novel will be available this November. Rachel, thank you for joining us. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay. going to stop sharing and we're going to start our conversation. So if you have any questions, please, please, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're going to be monitoring the chat and we'll make sure we get it to our panelists. Before we get to drawing, for all three of you, I'd like just to pose this question and you can duke it out. Who's going to go first? Rock, paper, scissors? I don't know. But before we get to drawing, can I ask each of you, how did you start off as an artist? And why does creating art and illustrations for children's books matter to you?
Tara, I feel like you should go first.
Yeah, I can start. Absolutely. I have been an artist. I always like to say I've been an artist since I was 2 years old. And I got caught drawing windows on my pink puppy wallpaper and I got in trouble. And I think that is what constitutes being an artist is you get in trouble a little bit for your art. So I say I've been doing that since I was 2. I've been getting paid for it since for about 25 years now. So, which is amazing. Despite my parents telling me that artists were very poor and starving artists, you probably don't want to be that. But it was something that I really wanted to do, and eventually I came around and I've been very successful at it. And it's something that I love. In terms of it being for towards doing work for children, I think that's kind of the most important way to change the world, honestly, is we already are living in the world that we're living in, and the children are the future, like literally the future. So everything that we're creating, I think that's a way that we can influence the future. And that's what I like to do is, I've lived this life, and maybe I can pass on a little bit of knowledge to the kids of the future.
I also got in trouble when I was 2,
Oh, really?
maybe. I've been drawing since I can remember. My mom has a scribble that I did when I was, 1 and 1 and 11 months. I don't know. So that's the first drawing that I know of. But I did draw a really good monster. It was big, had big teeth. I used a penny to scratch it into an antique chest that we had in the living room. But it was a pretty good monster. But I got in trouble. In terms of why I illustrate for children, I think children are the best audience. I make I love their curiosity and imagination and open-mindedness to new ideas and stories and creative things that I like to make. And I write about science and nature, and so I do nonfiction books. So I think in terms of what I hope to pass on to kids, I hope to reveal kind of what's hidden, things that maybe you didn't know about, and through the books and the illustration, maybe you can learn about them and get excited about them and experience the same kind of wonder that I do when I learn about the natural world.
As far as for me getting started as an artist, my mom is kind of the center focus of it, in that she is an artist and a chemist. And I think just saying that, sometimes you can kind of connect a lot of the dots and where you can see where my work is. But I grew up in a very creative environment, but also a very scientific environment. And so, working alongside another creative person is just baked into my DNA. And I feel very fortunate there's never really been a time where I specifically, she's a ceramicist and a painter. I fell in love with just like a number 2 pencil. I have always felt the most pure version of me, and like just the smell of it just like warms my heart. I love my pencil. And I remember feeling that way forever. I still have the exact same feeling. There's something just so calming about it. And I think as far as, Jason and Tara have it so right as to why you create for kids. Kids are, first of all, the most fun audience in the world. Second of all, I feel like for all of us, it's something that we feel like it's in you to communicate, to inspire, to make that change in the world, and to offer the best possible material for our little ones out there. Like, it's such a gift to be able to do that. I also think that for me, there's some asymmetry in kids' media and playthings. And I think we need as many strong, scientific, funny, smart, super spy, archaeologist, female leads out there as possible, for kids of all identities to enjoy, but especially for young girls. And we kind of need to level that playing field a little bit. And so I have 2 daughters of my own, and I write for them.
It's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay, I promise that we're going to get started to the art soon, but I want to do a shout out to some of our libraries who are here. We have kids coming from us at Chicopee, Massachusetts, Scarborough Public Library in Maine, Oxford, Pennsylvania. How you doing? Warwick Public Library, Westbrook, Connecticut has joined us. Yonkers is here. We have a lot of libraries from all over the place. So happy you're here. Wood County District Public Library in Ohio, Hello, New Jersey, my home state. We're so excited you're here. Right before we get started, art, I promise you, it's coming. Tara, I watched something online doing some research for today's panel, and I heard you speaking at a alumni event at your college, where you talked about one of the most important things about learning. And I think this is great for some of the kids who are going to be watching, especially when it comes to art. I grew up in the 1980s, back in the archaic times, and I used to watch somebody called Bob Ross on PBS, and he always had something where he had mistakes. So you would just change your art a little bit if you felt like you made a mistake. Well, you had this thought that you were conveying about failing is such a major part of learning in the creative process. I wanted to know if you could maybe just talk a little bit to our budding artists who are watching us about that idea.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes, like Bob Ross also was a favorite of mine, and I got in trouble doing Bob Ross paintings. I had to sneak do Bob Ross paintings in my room, because the only place we were allowed to do painting was like at the table, and you always had to clean up when supper was coming and stuff like that. So it was like I had to go and sneak that. I got in trouble for that as well too. But I think it's, aside from the getting in trouble, I think it's important to fail. I originally, I think I was saying a little bit before that I wanted to be an artist. My parents thought that's going to be, something that's not lucrative. I'm going to be starving and all this. So I said, well, okay, then I'll try to do something where I can make money, I guess. And I thought, I guess like my next thing was like, I want to work at SeaWorld and like ride the whales. Like, I don't know how I went from there to there, but that was my next step. So I'm like, I'm going to be a marine biologist. I went to university, and, I was like, I love animals and everything, but if you want to be a marine biologist, like there's a lot of things that are involved, that's not for the love of animals. And it was very difficult, and I ended up failing. And it was a good thing, I think, that I did, because one, we found out later, like that SeaWorld's not the best place for animals at all. They're not being treated very well, and I don't think I would have enjoyed that. But it also led me to go back to my first love, which was art. And then I, found a school where I could, do animation. And I'm like, well, there's cartoons on TV, so somebody must be making money off of that. Those guys can't be poor, can they? Like, and kind of put 2 and 2 together. So it was very important for me to fail, and also to know that failing is not a place where you're going to stop, or anything is going to stop. Everything just keeps going, and you get to learn a lot. And even if that thing is that, hey, that's not for me, this is for me. And I think that's an important thing to know, that throughout your life, you don't have to know right now what it is that you're going to be for the rest of your life. You can fail at a bunch of stuff, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be more than okay. You're going to learn a lot from it, and you'll end up going in the direction that you're supposed to go in. So I think it's important for sure.
All right, so that's our takeaway. It's going to be more than okay, kids. It's going to be more than okay. Cheshire Public Library in Connecticut, they just came online too, so they're excited. All right, so drawing, here we go. Promised you it was going to happen. So this is for Jason. Jason, while you're drawing, can you explain a bit about the research that goes into creating all the beautiful art?
Sure,
Kirkus,
yeah.
which is a a reviewer that is really difficult to get a good review from, for everybody out there. Your newest book is called Life After Whale. And they say that you can draw all of the changes in a precise but lyrical way. Now, you get to explain what a whale fall is to the kids.
Yeah.
And then also explain how something as gross as decomposition underwater can be lyrical. This is where like everyone who loves gross stuff is going to have fun.
Oh yeah, there's
It's
a
all
lot of gross stuff in my book.
It's all
but the
yours.
cover's
It's beautiful.
So this is Life After Whale. It was written by Lynn Brunel. I was the illustrator. And the story is the story of a blue whale that dies. And the body of the blue whale falls to the very bottom of the ocean, where it after it lands, animals that live at the bottom of the ocean start to eat it. And there's not a lot of food down there. So all of you imagine there's not a lot of food, and all of a sudden the biggest animal in the history of the world falls down into your home. That's a big buffet. And so even though it's sad that the whale dies, it's the end of one life, but it's the beginning of this entire ecosystem that grows up on the whale's body and lasts for 100 years. The whale is so big that this ecosystem lasts for 100 years. So I think what they were when they said that it was I forget, morbid and lyrical. I can't remember what the line was, but
Yes.
But it's a story, and I try and even with pictures of dead whales and gross animals like this one right here. This is called a hagworm, a hagfish. Excuse me. Hagfish are the most disgusting animals you'll ever learn about in your whole life. I think they're the most disgusting animal I've ever heard of. Even though I'm drawing pictures of this event, which could be seen as gross, it is a story, and I'm trying to tell that story in these pictures. And it's kind of an amazing story. Here's the whale during one of the stages of decomposition, and you can see all the life that is dependent on this whale, the whale fall, excuse me. And eventually it's like 50 years later or something. We get to the bones, and then at the end of the story, all of the nutrients that were in the whale's body get washed into the ocean, and then the currents push those nutrients up towards the surface, where they feed phytoplankton, which feeds krill, which is the food that blue whales eat. And then the next blue whale gets a meal. So this book is about the cycle of life. And it's I think it's a really cool story. So that's the book. But I know you said you'd like me to talk about research and creating the book. Is creating the art?
So earlier you talked about camping out and sleeping with scorpions. We talked about and swimming with
So
sharks.
I didn't go see a whale fall. I'll tell you that. They are very deep under the ocean.
Yeah.
So the scientists that study them actually don't go see them either. They have to send down remote control submarines or submersibles that can go down, and they study them that way. But what I did do was go to Monterey Bay in California, where a lot of this research is done. And I spoke to one of the scientists that works on blue whales. And I went on a whale watch, which was awesome, which was incredible. And then one of the cool things I saw when I was there was a 85-foot long blue whale skeleton, which is mounted, and it's so big it doesn't fit inside. So it's outside in Santa Cruz, California. So I went there and drew pictures of the skeleton. Here's some of my skeleton art, because when you're the illustrator, it's really important. It's really important that you learn what the stuff looks like that you're going to illustrate, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
So
It's hard to
you
make
maybe
a picture of a whale if you don't know what it looks
if
like.
you don't know what it looks like. So could
So I had to do
you,
research. So
Yeah.
I did a lot of visual research to do that,
Could-
to learn that. Yeah.
could you maybe show us how you would draw a whale or something else that maybe
Absolutely.
you saw at Monterey?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna this is a quick drawing. I don't want to take too much time, but what I'm gonna draw, I'm gonna talk about shading because a lot of people want to know how to make things look more realistic, and sometimes shading is a good way to do that. And since I'm drawing a blue whale, it's underwater, and you see on the cover there are all these beams of light. We'll do a little bit of that in the drawing too. So and see if I time myself. I think I can do it in 6 minutes, so we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to use a number 2 pencil. This is the Kids in Mrs. Z's class pencil. If you're familiar with that new book series that just came out from Kate Mesner, she gave me this pencil. And I'm going to switch my camera so it's pointed down at my sketch pad here. I've got an eraser on the pencil. I'm going to use the eraser. But if this one doesn't work out so well, because sometimes they're kind of crummy, I have another eraser that I'm going to use. It's called a kneaded eraser. So if you don't have one, don't worry about it. But you might, if you're going to follow along, you might want, a pencil with an eraser on it. Okay, let's start with the whale. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about drawing a super accurate whale because we're going quick here. But I'm going to draw the outline of the whale here. Whales are actually they're not that hard to draw. They're just kind of like lumps, But to make it look really lifelike, it takes a little bit of effort. But today I'm just kind of drawing my lumpy whale there. Okay, so we've got a whale. That's the first step. You got a shadow on there too. So let's do this. Okay, now I'm going to draw the surface of the ocean. Now we're looking up from underneath the ocean, right, at the surface. And here is the surface. So I'm just kind of drawing some lines back and forth that kind of look like waves from underwater, just back and forth. And I'm using the side of the pencil. See that? So I use the tip of the pencil here, but the side over here. And now, since we're underwater, underwater is blue. Well, and we only have a pencil, so we're going to make it gray. And I'm going to draw these, I'm going to just fill it right in like this. But I'm doing up and down lines. See how they're going down like that? Because that's the direction that the light is coming. Because the light's above, the sun's, above the water and shining down through. So this is the direction that the sun is, the light is falling. And what makes those shafts of light is all the waves in the water. The water is rippling and moving, and it's bending the light or refracting the light as it falls through. And I'm covering this whale right up. See, not okay. So that's our water there. Now I can put in some shading on the whale, and if the light is up here, then I'm going to shade in down here, and I'm just kind of doing some quick shading here. It's going to be falling on top of the fin there, so I don't shade that in. And we'll go
So
like
it's
that.
like the whale is creating a shadow almost.
Yeah, so right, the shadow is on the bottom part of the whale. Yeah, and this is the whale's mouth. Blue whales have really big mouths. It's right there, and this is the eye over here. Okay, now blue whales also have these lines under their throat, so we'll do some lines like this. These lines are the folds in the skin and allows them to open their mouths really wide because they can unfold like an accordion. Okay, and this is the whale's nose up here on top of its head. But make sure we have that. Okay, so now we have a shadow on the bottom of the whale. It's starting to look three-dimensional, right? Now I'm going to fill in some more, but I'm going to, instead of going over top of the whale this time, I'm going to stop at the top of the whale like this. Back to using the side of the pencil. See that? That starts to make the back of the whale more defined. And we can continue on the other side. Okay. Okay. So now, all right, looking good. Now watch this. Now you can take your eraser. I'll try this eraser, see how it goes. And you start up here and just go straight down right over top. And you can create some beams of light falling down like that. Just erase right over top. And if you want to put a beam of light falling down and going behind the whale, because they're falling all around. Some are going behind the whale like that. Now, if they're not coming out so clearly, you can color in between your beams of light like that. And they become a little more defined like that. So right now I'm kind of filling in between the beams of light that I erased like that. And now I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to make a nice big soft beam of light right down through there. There we go. Now we've got one there, and we can go that way, like that. There we go. I think I've hit 5 minutes. How's that look? Is that all right? Thumbs up.
It looks fantastic. I'm just gonna, you keep talking. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. One of our comments was to pin your work. So just talk a little bit. You get a few more seconds and let's get a good view and not
all right,
my
I'll
face.
keep
There we
going.
go.
One thing that you can do is also put in some darker marks up here like this.
Yeah.
That will make that the surface of the ocean look a little bit more like ripply. And you can also darken, if you really want to darken here, you can define that a little more. Right, and let's see. I'm going between these beams of light that I erased right out of there. Like that. And you can have fun with it. Come back with more eraser. You know, more eraser like that. Maybe erase something like that. Maybe fill in some more. You can keep playing with it.
Keep playing with it and keep playing with your pencil, not just the tip.
Yeah.
Use it like a paintbrush almost, like you're using the different sides and
this is what I would call like shape drawing more than line drawing, right? We started off with the line, but then pretty quickly I started filling in shapes with the side of the pencil and the shape down here and so forth. So it's maybe a different way. I know when I was a kid, I didn't think about shapes. I just thought about lines, but now I think a lot about shapes.
Fantastic. It looks like almost three-dimensional. Thank you so much, Jason.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. Okay, next up, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, who I was able to watch last fall at New York Comic-Con, where she co-hosted in the basement of the Jacob Javits Center in New York City, a workshop on writing and creating your own books for kids with kids. So she is well-versed, guys, in what you guys want and how to get a story that you will enjoy to read. So Rachel, can you talk to it and how she changed over time?
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm just going to share my screen here. Bear with me for just 1 second so I can get up some slides here. All right, let me just reposition this here so I can see you all as well and see what I'm doing. There we go. Make that a little bit smaller for me and you. Okay, friends. Can everybody see my screen okay? See a little picture of me? Get a little thumbs up that it went okay? All right, awesome. Hey, everybody. So I wanted to talk to you all today about something that when I was just learning how to draw, that I always wondered about, which was, it seemed to me that every time I would watch Looney Tunes cartoons or watch a Disney movie, I'd be like, do the artists just like put it on the page like that? Like, does it just come out? Or every time you read a book and you see that final work, You're just like, how do they do it? Every time I would sit down and draw, it would come out sketchy or wiggly or unsure. And I just didn't understand how it got to that final stage. And I know that can be hard sometimes, and it can make you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, or maybe I should quit. But there's some hidden secrets that we as artists have. And the whole thing is we do a lot of drafts, a lot of prep work, a lot of sketching behind the scenes to get things right. It's kind of that idea of failure. That's a big people word though, right? Failing or not getting something right. All that means is you try and try and try and try and try and fall down quite a bit until you get things right. And you do that on your sketch pad too with your pen and paper. And I wanted to tell you today about just how many times I fell down before I got something right in the art world. So these are questions I get asked all the time. How did Forsinthia's character come to be? How many drafts were there? Do you do a lot of sketches? All right, let me put it this way. She took me a long time to figure out. She took me 13 years to figure out. 13 full years. I actually started Forsynthia back when I was in college. And I was doing a concept for another book. And it was about a dragon. And I'll be honest with you guys, I got my very first computer. I was very excited about it. New tools. I got something called a Wacom tablet or a Wacom tablet, depending on who you ask. And what that means is it's a tablet down here and your computer's up here. And you draw here and then it shows up on the screen, which is like super cool. And also very confusing when you're used to just drawing in one place. So I was like just flabbergasted. Like, how can I do this? And so I ended up just drawing, and I ended up drawing dragons for this book. And these are the very first drawings that I drew. And you can actually see the colors are there, the concept of a dragon is there, and I didn't realize this was 16 years ago that this would lay the foundations for my character. And as I was messing around, just sketching and having fun, and this is where a lot of good things happen, is when you just follow your heart as an artist. Follow that heart and you find good things. I drew this drawing. And I said, if I wasn't paying attention to a client, if I wasn't doing anything for anyone else, this is how I would draw a dragon. And she's friendly. She's got some eyelashes. She's just like a dragon chilling. You can kind of see some of the influences that I really like. Like I really like cartoons. I really like just like silly, goofy things. And you can see that this, I didn't know it at the time, would be the foundations for my very special character. And that was 16 years ago. So now we move past that a little bit, and I was in my undergrad degree and studying at RIT, where I now teach, which is pretty cool. And I was in this class called character design in my senior year. And I really wanted to design a character, so this was perfect. So here we go. I wanted to create something because I wanted to start telling stories about elementary school. I had a hard time in elementary school. I had a rough time fitting in. There were some kids that weren't so nice, and I wanted to talk about it. And so I started writing these stories, but I needed a character to help me do that. So I started sketching. And believe it or not, Forsynthia started out as a cat. I love cats. Cats are my favorite. But the reason she didn't end up as a cat is cats are too cool. Cats are kind of like effortlessly, like they've got swagger, they've got charisma. And my character was just not that way. I'd like to say I was kind of a cat-like figure, but not so much. I needed something that matched who I wanted to tell a story with. And so I ended up back drawing dragons a lot. And I was sketching and sketching and sketching. And friends, do you see that blue? Okay, here's an artist tip. It's called blue lining. And the reason that we sketch in blue is for a couple of reasons. One, if you ever want to put a real drawing that you're doing in the real world on the computer, it makes it so you can remove your sketch stage really quick and just keep your final lines. But what you do is you draw with one color, a very light color, and then you ink on top. So you know how artists get that really nice crisp black line on there? We do two things. We draw in a light color and get all the sketching done, all the mess up lines, all the drafty lines, and then we ink on top. And that's what you're kind of seeing in these sketches. So anyways, I'm drawing these dragons. Friends, I could not figure out how to draw this dragon from all sides. I could kind of draw her from the side, but straight on, I just couldn't figure it out. So what did I do? I learned a very cool tip from a very cool person, one of my professors, and he said, you should sculpt her. So friends, if you are ever stuck and you don't know how to draw your character, make a sculpture. Grab some clay. I actually have clay on my desk right here. I'm creating another Forsynthia sculpture because I'm trying to actually figure out something else. So I do the same thing now. And then you can turn your character and amazing things happen. You can start figuring out what they look like. And you can actually see, like, this right here is Forsynthia starting to take form in her earliest stages 13 years ago. She looks very different from this one though, right? Still really different. You're gonna start to see her moving, but that's when I first started to feel like I was seeing who she is. And I could finally draw her from all sides, which you need to be able to do when you're creating a book or a comic or something like that. After I had her, I moved on to her family and the backgrounds and what her environment and her world would look like. And then once I had the character, the next thing we really work on as artists is something called an expression. Now, an expression is, let's see, guys, what is this expression? Not so happy, right? Maybe a little angry, maybe a little sad. This is an expression. Look how different my eyebrows are and my eyes and my smile, right? Look at my body posture change. Expression is what gives a character life. So this is a big artist tip. The real way to make your character pop off the page and talk is by drawing with expression. And a friend of ours is going to talk about that in a little bit. But you want to change your face and you want to change your character's body in order to tell you about things. And as artists, we create something called an expression sheet. This is a cheat sheet. Like on my wall right behind me, I'm hanging out in my art studio right now. My entire wall is plastered with all of the pictures of the Forsynthia characters in all these different emotions, feeling sad, feeling happy, so that as I'm drawing, I can go, wait, how did I draw the dad when he's sad? And I go, oh yeah, there you go. And it's just my reminder to make something and make it consistent in the right way. So after I had the expressions, after I had this world, I was ready to draw the first draft of our book. So this is going back to when I was in school. This is what I was coming up with. Her very first early reader book about how hard it is to start school. I remember my first day of school like it was yesterday. It was very stressful. And so I wanted to write about that. I wanted to write a high anxiety character and talk about what that feels like as a kid. So I created this book and there it is right there. There it is fully in print and ready to go. And I spent the next bunch of years, Forsynthia is still not done. Look how different she is to where she is now. There's a long way to go. I kept going and going and going. I actually made, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Forsynthia books. And there's probably 2 still on my computer that aren't printed. And in order to just draw and draw and practice and draw and figure her out and figure out what it means to be an author and an illustrator, to connect with kids through my work. So I would make these things and I would test them out in schools and I would see what kids thought of Forsynthia. And little by little, she would change. And I tried out comics. I painted her to see what that was like. And friends, I'm going to tell you, I reached just more walls. So I went back to school. If you ever feel like you want to learn more but don't know where to go find somebody who knows more than you do. There's plenty of people. I'm always looking for somebody who can teach me something new. And I ended up going back to school to learn even more in order to help me get past my own sticking point. And I did. So I kept drawing and drawing and drawing, and she's starting to take shape. Here's some of her sketches. In 2016, which is 8 years ago, she still wasn't there. I knew it. So I kept drawing and I got back to work. And this is a changing moment here. About 6 years ago, you can start to see she's starting to look more like her. And something started to click with I aged her the right way. I started feeling where she needed to go. And I added one specific thing, which was comedy into the work. I didn't even realize necessarily that I was doing it, but being silly is kind of a big part of my day-to-day. I like to be silly. I like to smile. I like fun things. And when I started to add that into my work and just be me, cool things started to happen. But guess what? I needed to learn more. So I went to where artists go. That's this conference called the Society of Children's Books Writers and Illustrators. And I showed my work to a lot of people. I showed Forsynthia off, guys. And you know what? I got a lot of feedback, and it can be hard when you work on something for a really long time and then somebody's like, I don't know, like it's okay. And you're like, okay, that took me 10 years to do. And so again, that could have been where I quit, right? If you ever receive that kind of feedback, sometimes it's easy to be like, okay, I guess it's not working. But instead, I remade her again. So this time I moved away from early readers and into something called a branches book. I'm like, I think I need a different format. I think I need to draw her and work for maybe like kindergarteners and first graders and just kids who are starting to read, but into chapter book land. Put that out there, got some more feedback, and I learned about something called a graphic novel. Now, a graphic novel is where things all changed. I remade her yet again. This is 4 years ago. This is my first attempt at a graphic novel. And I am watching my time, by the way. I know I have 2 minutes and I will wrap up. This is my very first attempt at a graphic novel. And I put it out into the world. And I will tell you, 2 big things happen that takes this drawing from 4 years ago to where we are now. 2 big puzzle pieces happened. First, my daughter was born. And friends, this is not something I could have predicted that would happen. But as my girl grew and my second daughter was born, Forsynthia, who had been in my head for so long, I could start hear her voice. And I realized that she was the voice of my daughter. And she was the voice of my kids. And there was one other big thing that happened. I talked to my agent, and that graphic novel that I showed you, she told me it was fine, but a little bit boring. And she said, she gave me the best piece of advice. She said, nerd out and be you fully. She said, I just feel like you're holding back. So again, this could have been where I quit, but I just let go and I wrote. And this is what came out. This book right here. And once I put it all together, we hit the drawing board, this time as a team, and we started to create Forsynthia, Rise of the Cupcakes, in the form that you see her today. So the cast of characters in the book is my family. This is my husband, who's the dad. That's the mom, who's kind of like me. This is Daisy, who's like my daughter Lila. This is the Nana character, who's like my mom. And then this is Forsynthia, who's like my daughter Sydney. And so, friends, the big thing is, it's okay if you don't get something right away. Sometimes good things take time, and you just need to keep going. So, friends, from me to you, just keep drawing. And if you are ever stuck, find somebody who knows a little bit more, another creative, another artist like Les, and we'll help you through. Best of luck, my friends. Thank you for having me today.
It's awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so Tara, in the starred review for JoJo Makoon, Horn Book said this about your art, okay? Audibert's cartoony illustrations add humorous layers to this exemplary transitional reader. Now, the last 3 words to all of our audience are friends, as Rachel was saying, seems kind of like big boring, but the good part of it is that her cartoony illustrations add humor and layers and nuance and all the good stuff to the book. The art can take what's written in a book and let it fly. So can you share the process, Tara, for creating unique character expressions, annoyance, humor, surprise, joy in your artwork? Now, as an animator and a digital creator, can you how does it feel coming from a moving image and then going to the still image on the page? Are they similar? Is it different? Does it matter?
Well, it helped me so much to be an animator, and like I really appreciate both Jason and everything that Rachel was saying as well. Like those are all things that I use in my process as well. I even have exactly what Rachel is talking about right here, a Wacom Wacom tablet. I'm a Canuck. I'm actually a secret Canuck. I'm in Canada. Just right away, who knows? And I remember calling the Wacom, I believe it's in Texas, and they said, Wacom, welcome to Wacom. How can we help you? But this is what I draw on, and it is very difficult at first. It's like it's a weird disconnect because I'm drawing looking at the screen like this and looking in. But it was very quick to kind of learn how to do that, and it helps a lot for if you want to just keep drawing, you can do edit undo, and then keep kind of redrawing, and that's like part of my process as well. But I also am a big pencil and paper, and like I always start everything with my sketchbook. Like everything I like that, the feel of the pencil, the feel of the paper. And I just found some of my early like JoJo Makoons stuff. So this is how I draw it, as little thumbnails, almost, you know, similarly to like it being kind of like in a comic, but everything's just very, very sketched out. Here's a little cat in a bag. I go back afterwards and find like lots of different references and stuff, the same as Jason, for any little detailed things. I'm listed away and I'm here in Canada in New Brunswick, but JoJo Makoons, the author, Dawn Quigley, is in, she's Ojibwe. She's in the States. She's down in North Dakota. So there's a lot of different things in terms of Indigenous culture, and I have to like look it up so that I'm, you know, making sure that it's accurate for the book and things like that. So I always start with this, with a sketchbook, and I want to make sure that I'm just doing like things that are very like stick men, and the first thing that comes into my mind. And yes, there may be different stages down the line, but it's a weird thing where it's usually that first weird idea that pops into your head, and that comes back to like what Rachel was saying, is like, just be weird and go, oh, this is what I think, and I'll just draw that first. Let someone else, you know, in terms of my process for the JoJo books, like it's not my, I'm not the author. I'm adding to what the author is doing. So I get to kind of have some fun with it. But in the end, they do have a say in what's going to go on. So I let them be the ones that pull that stuff back. I just do stuff really weird. And they're like, well, maybe this could be a little bit less, like, okay, I guess. But, you know, I like the gross stuff too. And I like the weird stuff too. And I like making JoJo do, you know, crazy things because I think that's fun. And I don't want it to be boring. I want it to be something that I'm going to enjoy reading, because I have to look at it for months and months and months, or years, you know, like I'm working on the, you know, similarly to Rachel, like I'm working on, I just finished the 4th JoJo Makoons book. So, you know, I'm seeing a lot of JoJo. So I want it to be something that I'm going to enjoy as well. And I think that if I enjoy it, then, you know, the readers are going to enjoy it too, I hope. So that's the first process. I have this sketchbook, I scan it in, and then I put it into the computer, and then my process is kind of digital from there with this Wacom tablet, but I'll show you. And maybe we can draw together JoJo very simple. And I'm coming from this cartoon background. Let me see if I can share my screen. And the cartoon background is you know, doing this digital art. Let me show you some of the drawings here. So there's different processes even within the digital world. I just want to scan a little bit here. So I have you know, a rough process. So I take my sketchbook drawing, put that in here, and then I do like a very rough pass over it again. So there's that process. So how do we get to that very, very clean line? It takes a lot of steps going through. And, you know, maybe we're getting back revisions from the author or the publisher. And then we're finally drawing that nice clean line over top of it. But my favorite part is not the clean line, and a lot of times, like, what I really love is that rough drawing and like how it's going to look as a sketch. And even in my own work, I tend to keep it in that sketchy quality. But I'll show you guys how I do JoJo and some of the expressions. Like, I guess my favorite expression, I'll show you guys how I like to draw that. So this would be the cleaned up and colored version. And we have, like, you know, a much finer, more refined line, and we get that kind of cartoony style. So I got her here on the side. So a lot of times I'll just have, like Rachel was saying, I'll have like a picture either of whatever it is I'm drawing, or a picture of JoJo, and I can like kind of put all of this actually to the side so I can have this over here as my drawing. So when I start drawing JoJo, I'm just going to make this bigger. I draw stuff really big. So the books themselves are very small. And if you looked inside, it would be like, you know, I do not draw that tiny. Like, that's a very small way to draw. And I like to draw very large. So it's easier for me to do it digitally. I can draw it as big as I want and then shrink it down, and they'll be able to put it in the book. So, oops. So I start kind of similarly, and that comes from, like, I guess, using the pencils and paper, but usually I will start my roughs by using like a kind of a blue color. And that is, you know, it doesn't really matter because in the computer I'm using different layers, but if I was, it's just like a thing that I've taken from the pencil to the digital world. And it's the same thing for me. I'm doing like rough drawings. And for JoJo, very simple. I like to do, just have her be a circle. And I can make it very sketchy, and I have the power to undo my lines, which is great with the digital computer. But what I like to do is just kind of go over stuff a little bit, and that's okay. So I can kind of make this refined drawing of her head. And then JoJo has these JoJo Makoons. Makoons means bear in Ojibwe. So she's actually JoJo Bear. And I thought that was cute. And when I designed her, I wanted her to have like kind of buns that represented like bear ears, so that she'd be kind of cute. So she has her hair in these little buns, and I like to draw those in first. They're not really circles. They're kind of maybe ovals. And then I add in some hair lines in here, keeping it simple. I like to do when I'm doing this rough drawing, I have this center line that kind of tells me which direction she's facing. So if I have it here, she's kind of, maybe she's looking in this direction. I could also kind of maybe, move it over here. And now maybe she's looking in this direction. Let's do it similarly to what's over there. So this kind of helps me to find out where the middle is, and the middle helps me find out where the nose goes. So I like to just add in a little line in there for the nose, keeping it simple, and then maybe showing like the underneath of the nose, and then this other little line that represents the bridge of the nose. That maybe the line of the nose as well too. Expression wise, I like to have JoJo have the biggest smile. Oops, maybe not that big. Let's go a little bit under the nose, as big as I can get it by drawing this line kind of in the middle, so that half of her face is this great big smile. Very toothy. And then I like to add in her teeth, so that she's got as much teeth showing with a big smile and looks very, very happy. And I add in this little kind of a triangle here that represents like maybe gum lines. We're seeing a little bit of her gum lines there. Now, I already have this here, but JoJo also has like a gap in her teeth that I add in. So I add that in the middle there, so that you can kind of see that she's got this very big toothy smile and a little gap. For her eyes, I don't know if you can tell, when I'm smiling a lot of times, you just can't even see the whites or my pupils. And I like to draw a lot of my characters like that, so that they're just this kind of closed eye. So I have the start of the eye starting a little bit lower, maybe where the nose starts, and then the corner of the eye is up much higher. So we've got this sort of thing going on. I add in a little eyelashes, because JoJo's cute. She gets some eyelashes and maybe some thick eyebrows. I can go in and erase some of these other lines. So I just like draw over, just keep drawing over and over, and then in the end, you'd be able to draw over and get that finite black line. Let's give her a little tongue. Oh, not with the eraser. That pencil. And then her hair is kind of parted to the side. And this, she's wearing a turtleneck, and she's just kind of like to keep her very simple. She's got some ears here. So circles, everything is circles. When you're using different shapes, circles are very nice, round. We think they're pleasant. So we think that things that are drawn with circles are very cute. So just like, Rachel's character, she had like a lot of circles in there. So that's making us feel like we like it. We think that's cute. We want to hug them. If you make characters that are, square characters, we can think about SpongeBob SquarePants. He is very cute. He's got some circly stuff, but he's got these pointy edges on the side. Same with like triangular characters. So we can think of, superheroes or even Superman's, that triangle stuff. That's going to be not as cute, not as huggable. So I wanted JoJo to be as cute and as huggable as possible. So lots and lots of circles. And then she's got her classic hair that's just coming down. And in her ear, this is, I guess, kind of a secret. I put letters in the ear because inside of the ear, really there's like a mess of stuff in there. So if you're doing cartoony ears, a great thing to put inside an ear is either a letter or a number. And so because of JoJo, I put a J, a backwards J on this side, and like a backwards J on this side, a forwards J on this side for JoJo. And then all of her other little friends, Fern has an F, and different characters have the letters of their name. And I thought that would be cute to put in there. But anything, 8, 7, 6, all of those numbers. In The Simpsons, I think they've got like a lot of 5s. But any number that you put in there is going to make it look like an ear, and that's your fun little trick. So the last but not least, I like to add in some cheeks. And that's just kind of, to me, it represents like the high cheekbones of Indigenous people, but also like that glow that you get when you're happy. So I think it's just kind of fun to have her in there. I'll add in some arms, I guess. She's missing arms, and I think she's got a little snowflake on her shirt. So I just add that in, cross, X, X, and then add some little ticks in here. I like to just kind of be free and sketchy when I'm drawing. That makes it fun for me, and then, you know, can kind of go back later on and clean it up afterwards. But there's JoJo. Did I make it in time?
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Tara, for showing us a JoJo. Okay, so our vocabulary takeaway from today is failure is fine. Keep on trying. Could be 13 plus years. What else? Shading. You can use all those different sides of your pencil or whatever utensil you're using. Drawing utensil, crayon, pastel, paintbrush. Wacams. What are they called? Correct me.
You see it, someone will tell you how to also say it another way. So
technology is your friend. Oh, wonderful. Jason drew a JoJo. Circles are huggable. Circles are huggable. And you can put a number inside of a little circle for an ear. And blue lines. There we go. There's our vocabulary for the day. Thank you all so very much for joining us. We are practically out of time. That like was so jam-packed, action-packed, full hour of drawing and talking about children's books. Thank you so much. Thank you to Neal Porter Books. Thank you to Heartdrum HarperCollins, and thank you to Paw Prints Publishing, our panelists. We're so glad you're able to join us today, and we wish you all a very happy summer reading. Enjoy. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.